Okay. Now we'll go with the next question. Yes, everybody is there. Can we start? Yes, can we start now? Nobody's give response. Okay, I think we should start now. Just go through the question, what they have given here. A lucky is a person. Sorry. Yusuf is a lucky person and he is blessed with the luck. So he always made a best profit possible with the share he bought. That means he bought a share at a low price and sold it at the high price to the maximize his profit. So it is related to the share market that he can uh, take the shares at the low price and he sell the shares with the high price to maximize his profit. Now you are an income tax officer and you need to calculate the profit he has made. So there are some calculation part we have to do to find his profit he had made in with the given values of stock given values of stock prices each day. You have to calculate only maximum profit you should earn. Okay. So example they have given that given 162 the best time to buy the stock at the day 1. Okay. Yes. Okay. So what they have saying that they have saying that the best time to buy a stock is day 1. So what is this? Day 1, day 2, day 3 has been given. And for the day 1, it is the lowest price. 1 is the lowest price for particular stock. So it is the best time to buy the stock. And the best time to sell is day 3. But actually it is day 2 because it is having the maximum price for the stock. First line with an input format they have given we have is first line with an input in with an integer n denoting the number of days with the value of a stack. Next is next n days tailing the price of a stack on that very day. Okay. So what we have is we have to first take is the number of days that we have to take for the calculation of the stack or the value of stack. And the next is the price for the every day that we have. So you can see here 7 is the number means number of days we are going to take as an input is 7 and these are the values 1 9 12 2 11 192 is the values of the stock and different day starting with the first day. So the output they have given is 10. Why 10 they have given? Because the lowest price of the stack is going to be 1 for the first day. So this is the best time to buy the stock. So he will purchase the stock or sorry, purchase the share for the rupees 1 and the 11 is the best day. 11 comes for the first, second, third, fourth day. On a fourth day, the sell it will sell the particular share for the rupees 11. So 11 minus 1 the maximum profit he will get by selling the given share is 10. So this way you have to find the output. Maximum profit from the given share by selling and buying. So this is what the concept they have telling us, and we have to find the maximum profit for the given program. So understood what is the problem is? We'll go for the next part. Okay. So just related to the problem, the idea we are going to is the cost of a stock on each day is given in an array. So what in the program, how we are going to solve this particular problem is the cost of a stock on each day is given in an array. Means we have to take one array, and in that array we are going to store the cost that has been given for every day, means first day, second day. That way you have to take, find the max profit that you can make by buying and selling in those days. Means what, for every day we have to find out the whether we get the max profit for the particular sell or not. How you're going to do that, we have to check for first day is going to be the buying day. After the first day we are going to check the whatever the price given for the next day, we are going to do the subtraction from the we use the subtraction, and we have to find the profit that will get from others every others day. Okay, and whatever the maximum profit we are going to get, that will be the output of our program. This is what the simple logic that have been used. So what we have to do in that is, for example, if the given array is 100, 180, this is one example given, okay? The maximum profit can be earned buying on the day 0. Day 0 means in array we are going to take the index started with the 0. So it is written as a day 0. And selling on the day 3. So we have day 3 is the value 260. Okay. Again, buy on the day 4, means day 4 is this, which is having the value of sell is 40, and sell it on the day 6. So if, sorry, day 3 is 360, not this, no? I missed this. Okay. So 310 is the maximum price on the day 3 the person getting for the particular sell share. So he will sell that sell on the day 3, and again he is going to buy it on the day 4 because it is having very low value, and again it will sell on the day 6, that is it will get the maximum price. If the given array of a prices is stored in a decreasing order, then profit cannot be earned at all. If it is in the decreasing order, means the buying, if we have to buy the particular share before selling it, so that will be the previous value should be smaller than the next value. Otherwise, means what? It should not be in a decreasing order. Means buying value will be more if it is in a decreasing order. The buying value is more than the selling value. So there will be no profit. So this is what the constraint we have with the program. It is a simple program logic we have to build. Okay, what approach we have to use is try to buy the stock and sell them on the every single day when profitable, and keep updating the maximum profit so far. Means what? First we will buy the stock, and for every other day, means every single day after that buying day, for each and every next day we are going to find out how much profit we will get for every single day. Okay, and based on that array of a profit maximum we are going to take, and then we are going to tell for that particular day you will get the maximum profit. Okay, so it is quite simple one. We'll start with the main probe. Yes, we'll start with the main. So what we have here is we have taken the prices over here. You can see just now in the example I have told, there is the price array in which we have taken some prices or of the stock, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, means for a 7 day we have taken the values for a stock on every single day. This is the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth and seventh day. So we need the length of the array. So n we have calculated. Then the max profit we are going to calculate. Means for every single day we are going to calculate the profit for the given for the buying stock. So it will go for the max profit function. It is quite simple logic we have used. So what max profit is going to return? It is going to return the maximum profit you will get from the given stock. So here what we have to do is, okay, the prices have been sent, the start and end for the stack is given. That is nothing but the 0 and n minus 1. Means the starting index of array and last index of the array. So when it comes here, first condition what it is going to be checked is end is less than equal to start. If the stock can't be bought, means there is a no value in your array of a stock values, then it will return 0. Then after this we have to calculate the profit. So we'll take one variable and that is initialized to 0 because we are going to calculate and assigning the values to the profit. So then we'll start the array for loop for the array in which all the prices of all the prices for the each and every single day for the stock is present, starting with the start to the end. Okay. In that simple sorting algorithm, the way we use, the same algorithm is used here. Can you see this is a nested for loop? Yes. Can you see there is a nested for loop only is used in which first will be compared, first stock I will be taken as the first price, which is for a buying the stock. Okay. First price, and for the each next values starting with the next day till the end, it is going to find out the price should be smaller than the price or should be greater than the price of the buying day value. This is the buying day because it start with the first day only, and j start with the next day, because you can see in the inner for loop we have seen there j is equal to I plus 1 means the next day. Then what we are going to do is we have to calculate the current profit. And how we are going to calculate the current profit? By just doing the subtraction between the next day profit, next day price and the previous day price. Means that particular current day price and the next day price we have to take. We have to do the subtraction of it and you will get the current profit. Okay. Again with this, what we are going to do is we are going to start the same function applicable for start to the half of the part I minus 1 and price same for from j to the end, means from the next so from the ith location we have to take it from start to that particular ith location, and from the jth location till the end again we are going to check for the same values. This is the recursive function used. Why we have to use this? Because we have to calculate for the next till end also and for the previous also. Then we have to going to update the profit using the math function max, whichever means this will return you the maximum value of the uh, value which is present in your current profit array. Okay. So maximum value will be returned here, which is nothing but the profit. So this function will return you the maximum profit, and that is going to be displayed in our main function here. So this is how this program works. Okay, now we have the next one. Lalit is an engineering student. One day, a professor assigned him a task of finding some patterns for understanding some complex textual data out of a dump file. Lalit succeeds in dividing the data into multiple lines, but finds out that recognizing pattern is tedious job. Okay, so this is a pattern recognition kind of a problem we have, in which we have to recognize the string from the text file. Okay, help Lalit to write a program to determine the pattern in a given block of text. So what we have, we will have a block of text in this program, and we have to find some pattern which is also a part of a input, and we have to find that pattern is present in the given text block or not. So have you understood what is the problem is? Two lines of input would be given. First line would be the block of text. The second line of text would be the pattern to be found. Okay. Means what? First will be give the first they will give the block of text, and second is going to be the pattern for the searching. This is kind of a searching a string in the bigger string, or searching a substring in the bigger string. So, so what output we have to uh, print or give? The position of in the blocks, means we have to provide the index location in the block of the text where the patterns are found. Each position should be printed in the separate lines. Okay. So we have to print the indexes from where the patterns start to from. Okay. Means the starting index of the substring. Every time we will get that substring in the main in the big string. Example is given here. See, this is a test text. So this is what the input string, and this is what the pattern they are giving. So they have to find the test inside this given sample. And see, the location index they have given as a 10. So this is going to be the 10th location. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, if you count the number of pos position here, you have to even count the space also inside this. After this, there is a space. After is and a, there is a space. So you will get the 10th location here. So the output they have given as a 10. Okay. So this is what the problem is, which we have to solve with the any programming language. Okay. So there is one more explanation for this. The pattern searching algorithm are sometimes also referred as a string searching algorithms, and are considered as a part of a string algorithm. These algorithms are used for searching the string within another string. So if you can see here, we are having the text over here with some alphabets given, and this is the pattern. So you can see that this pattern is we'll have this pattern at the first location, means starting with the first location. You can see the pattern is present here. Then at the 9th location also you have the pattern, and again from this 12th location again we have the pattern. So they are giving the output as 0, 9 and 12. So this is what the program we have to write, how we are going to find this kind of a output when you will have a text area, or some text has been given and some pattern has been given as an input. Okay. And for this, KMP matching algorithm is used. Again, this algorithm uses a pattern matching but have some speciality of this is the basic idea behind this algorithm is whenever you detect any mismatch after some matching alphabets or sorry alphabets, yes, after some matching alphabets or characters, we already we have to stop there when we get a mismatch of the string, and again we are going to start the pattern. But how? See, here only in this example, see, A, we found, okay. After this, again, we are going to start with the first location also, no? Because at this location also might after A will come, right? So it has to again, for starting from the first location, it will check till fourth location up to 3, whether the pattern is there or not. After this, it has to start from the first location again, and it has to check whether the first location, second, third, fourth is matching with the string or not. Now, in this KMP mapping algorithm, what they have using is they're going to store the location characters result, previous result with them before for the next pattern matching. Next pattern matching, it will keep the previous result. That is what it is written, that whenever we detect a mismatch after some matches, we already know that some of the characters in the text of the new window, next window, means what? For the next part, first 4 will be taken that have been matched for the with the pattern. Then next 4 are going to be start from one location, right? First we'll start with the 0 location, then we are going to start with the 1 location. So that is called a next window. So we already know that some characters in the next window have the match also. So we take the advantage of this information to avoid the matching the characters that we already know about, that they have already matched. So this is what the basic idea used in the KMP matching algorithm, which is used for the pattern matching. So in this example, we can have the text given over here is, this is the text given over here, and the pattern they have given is this. Now this pattern is matched with the first location. Start with the first location, you will get the pattern. And for the second location also you are getting the pattern, right? With the in the here you can see that in the initial position we find the match. Same like the simple string matching algorithm. Okay. And next string we are going to again start from the first location. So this also have the pattern matching. So when we are using this KMP pattern matching algorithm, okay, we only compare the last one, last character in the string or the pattern with the last pattern of this, because we already know these are the matching. Yes. So this is how it will make your program less time consuming than instead of every time you're going to do the matching, it will make it will use less time for finding such patterns. So this is what the idea behind this KMP pattern matching algorithm. Now we start with the program. Okay. So this is what the program we have, in which the text is given and the pattern is given. Now we are going to do what? Pattern matching search. So there is function KMP search is given, through which we are going to find out whether the pattern is matching or not. Now here what we have to find out first, the string length for both string we have to calculate, that is the length of a pattern and length of the text we are going to take. Then what is mean by suffix and prefix here? We have to take the previous pattern also and the next pattern. Means previous means prefix and suffix means the next one. Why we need both? Because in KMP we are using the previously matched pattern also, right? And then we have to make the list of previous prefix and suffix list. Okay. And how we are going to do that? That pre-process the pattern means calculate the LPS array, that is suffix array we are going to calculate for every pattern. So how you are going to do that is, this is the LPS array in which the prefix and suffix has to be calculated for every character in your pattern. C is going to be checked. So this loop calculates for LPS of I for I is equal to 1 to m, means the maximum number of characters that you have in your pattern. So that is going to be added to the LPS I initially. Okay. And after that, it is going to add the remaining patterns from the text. And when you have done with this, you will have the you have to check in the KMP search. You're going to check whether the character in the pattern is present in the text or not. If it is present, then we are going to move for the next. The simple code is used here. If it is present, means the character at the jth location is matches with the character at ith location of your text string, which is the input string in which you have to find the pattern, and this is what the pattern. So each character from both has been checked. If both having the same character, then we are going for the next one. And if we are reaching the end of J is come with the pattern, means what? The pattern has been finished with the matching. Then you have to write that pattern is found at index I minus 1. I minus J means the first location from where you will start to find the pattern. Okay. And then the that particular part we have to add from the LPS J of LPS is from the prefix that we have kept in the LPS array. So it will be kept in the LPS array by sorry, it will be used from the LPS array because we have to not going to compare it repeatedly. Means every time we are not going to compare it. We are going to take the result of the prefix and suffix from the for that particular location from the computed prefix and suffix values. So after that, when you have end of your text area, then you have to sorry, see, means end of your pattern, and if there is nothing in the text area, then you have to come out of the loop. This is what the simple this is what the last point where you will find that your text area is also finished, but your pattern is still there. Means what? There is a no match for the characters from your pattern with the text area. So it will return you the it will return to the end, means J is not equal to 0 and I plus plus it will do, means it will go for the next location of your text area from that particular location. So this is how this program logic is built. Now the next one is Rani is given a string and she thinks the letters that are repeated to have more power. Okay. She gathers only the repeating characters and keeps them as the most powerful to the least powerful manner. Means in the sorting in increasing order of their frequency. That is what the meaning is. Ascending order of frequency of the characters, it is going to be stored. Now, it is your turn to write the code that will help Rani to do that. Only lowercase alphabets are accepted as input. Okay. An input format we have is consist of string in a single line. Means we have to type whatever the characters we have to type, that should be in a single line. And output is a string made of only the repeated characters as sorted according to their reduced frequency, means in the ascending order. The character who comes many times, means maximum times, that will become first. After that the next one will come, that way. If their frequency is a tie, then character with a higher ASCII value must appear after the character with the lower ASCII value. Okay, means what? If we have value of a is a, yes, value ASCII value of a, small a, capital A is a 65. What is the ASCII value of a? Yes, nobody. Yes,
97, 97.
yes, it is 97. So we know that ASCII value of A is smaller than B. So whenever you are going to, if you have the same frequency of A and B in the given string, means they are occurring for the same time in the string, and you have to print the output. That time A will be printed first because it is having the lower frequency ASCII value. That is what they are saying. So you can see in the sample input they have given this string, and A is coming for how many times? 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 times it is coming. That is the maximum frequency, I think so, for this for the alphabet. Then B is coming for 2 times. C is also coming for 2 times. But according to the rule, or according to the condition they have given, the higher ASCII value comes after the lower one. So B will come first and then C will come. This is what the program has to be written. Okay. Here also we are using in a Java program we are going to do that. Here we are going to use the tree set list. Yes. Why we use here tree set list? It is another class from your another data type that have in the Java, that is used for it is used for especially for we'll get the frequency of the given alphabet, that alphabets we have. The frequency can be calculated easily with the tree set list. Okay. So what we are doing here is, see, first we'll take the input here. Then with the for loop, inside the list, which is a type of a tree set, we are going to add the item, we are going to add the characters one by after other. Every time we have to take the prefix and suffix we need, because we have to keep the track that whether the coming character or the next the character which we are going to add has been came before or not. Yes. So for that we need the prefix string also and suffix string also. Then we have to check okay, whether we have started the string. This is the OR condition. Okay. So after this, what will happen? We have to check whether the index of suffix, means these prefix and suffix strings are nothing but the previous part of the previous part from the alphabet location, and suffix means the next part of your alphabet location, right? So it has to be checked whether it is end, means -1 means there is a no prefix part, suffix means there is a no end side part. Then we are going to add that particular character. If one of the is true, then also we are going to add it to the list. That list is nothing but the tree set variable. Okay. And then what we are going to do is we are going to add it in the list, and because of we are using the tree set, we are getting the frequency of each and every character that is added to the list. After that, what we are going to do is we are going to use the iterator function, iterator object from the Java. This is also another object in a Java that is used for printing the given date variable in the iterative manner. So it will print the uh, it will print whatever the values it are present in the list in the iterative manner. Okay, this is actually looks simple, but you have to you have to remember that why we are using the tree set, what is the use of substring function for the suffix and prefix. See, for a prefix we have to start, this is the ith location of the alphabet. From there to 0 means from there to the left side, that is the suffix part. Okay, and from next to the till the length, that is the suffix part means the last part, left side part and right side part that have been taken in this two. And every time we are going to check for the each character, we are going to check whether that is matches with the previous characters in your suffix and the characters that you have present in the prefix, and then that have been added to the list. Okay, and after the adding those characters in your list with their frequency, just you have to print the character that is present in your list using the iterator object. If you go through the net and you will find what is mean by iterator over here, what is the tree set, then you will able to you will get the idea how why this is used and why it is useful for this program, because you can see very simple and one page program is there. So this is how we can solve this pattern matching. No, this is not a pattern matching. It is finding a substring frequency of a string alphabets in the given string problem. Okay. Now next question we have is, given a wooden stick of length and units, the stick is labeled from 0 to n. For example, a stick of length 6 is labeled as follow. Given an integer array, cuts where, okay, given an integer array cuts, where cuts of I denotes a position you should be perform cut at. You should perform the cuts in order. You can change the order of cuts as you wish. The cost of one cut is the length of the stick to be cut. Okay. The total cost is the sum of cost of all the cuts. When you cut a stick, it will be split into two smaller sticks. Okay. Then what we have to return is minimum total cost of cuts. Then from input we have got is, we have first line will be n representing the length of stick. Next line will be the space separated integer for the position to perform cuts at. And output we have to give is the integer that represent the minimum total cost of the cuts. Okay. So here you can see that the sample output they have given is 7 is nothing but the length of the sticks. Okay. This is the length of a stick. And the cut and the position where we have to do the cuts are given over here. So this is the 6 length, right? The same way the 7 length stick will be there, and these 1, 3, 4 and 5. For this example, if I have to say 1, 3, here we have to put the cuts. This is what they are saying, and sample output they have taken as a 16, which is going to be the minimum total cost of cuts they have been calculated for the given stick. So we first see how this example is for the given problem. Okay, here we have 7 sorry, stick with the length 7, and we have to perform cuts. See here in the example 3, 5, 1 and 4. Okay, 3, 5, 1 and 4 are the different. Okay, But in the example they have given from the right side. Okay, we have to first see this part and then we go for this part. What they have given is the cuts we have to make at first, third, fourth, and fifth. So when we do the first cut, which is at the 1, that will be applied on the stick of length 7. Okay, so the cost of a cut is equal to 7 for this. Okay, that will be 7 for the first cut. Then the second cut is going to be applied on the third, right? 3 at the third location. And now you can see the length of this stick is 6. So the cost of the cut is going to be 6 here. Then we have cut at a 4. And for the 4, the length of the stick is equal to 4 only. Right? So we have to write 4 over here. Then what we have, the length of a stick for the next cut 5 is 3. So here we have 7 plus 6 plus 4 plus 3. It is going to give you the value or the total cost for this is equal to 20. So this is what they have given in the explanation part. But if we arrange the cuts in the other manner, this was the first one, then they have arranged here with this 3, 5, 1, 4. Okay. Then what will happen? The first cut will be at the 3 for the uh, for the cost value of a 7. Then we have the next cut is at the 5th, which is with the cost value of 4. Okay. Then what we have is, then we have 1. So that for that the cost value is again 3. And then we have 4. So for 4 cost value is 2 for this part. So how much you will get from this? That is 16 we are getting from this new arrangement of cuts. So this is what we have to do to get the minimum cost of cut from the given problem. So again here we have the cut minimum cut we have to find, minimum cost for the cuts we have to find. Okay, here we are using the hash map, same from the Java, and what we are going to get from the main function, I think. Yes. What we have to do is we have to find the cost. So the cost function is written for every cuts, how much cost you will going to get from this. Okay, the cost function, what we are going to pass is the length of the sorry, and represent the length of a stick. So length of the stick we have to first send, and then what, the array list in which the where the cuts has to be make, that is also sent to the function. Then what we have to do is this contents key is the function that we have for the hash map. It will check whether the particular, if you remember about the hash map data structure, it is having key for a mapping. Okay, if we get that key, then it will map the particular value to the cuts. So here, starting with the first point till the end, we are going to do the cut function in the recursive manner every time. The same thing we have to do here also. What we are going to do is we are going to do the calculation for I to the cuts, means till the end of your array. Starting from the first, we are going to calculate the minimum cost. Okay, so every time the cut, for each cut, what is going to be the cost is calculated with the cost function. For every cut, what is going to be the cost, that is calculated for every cut. And if after every cut, that is going to be again recursively called the cost function. And at the end, the minimum of the cost has been calculated with the mathematical mean function. And that is going to be written as the value, that is going to be the written as the output of your program. So this is what the actual, the program that we have to write for the minimum cut cost for the given problem. Next problem we have is Shweta is given a binary tree out of which she has to find the kth lowest value in the binary tree. She can find the kth lowest value by looking into the tree. But since she is a programmer, she decides to write a program for solving the problem. Help her to obtain the solution. What is they have given? Shweta is given a binary tree out of which she has to find the kth lowest value in the binary tree. Okay. And she can find the value by looking into tree, but she will write a program for the kth lowest value she has to find with the program. Okay. She additionally is given the information that BT is actually a BST. Binary tree, we know that binary tree is the special tree which is having at least 0 to the at most 2 childs, right? Not then more than 2 childs will be there if the tree is a binary tree. And binary search tree is the tree that is having the specific property that whenever a new node is going to be added to the tree, or binary search tree, you can say that it is a tree in which the root node is having greater value than the left side node, and the right side child node of the root is having value more than the root node. So left side values are smaller than the root and right side values are greater than the root node. That is what the binary search tree. You need not construct the binary tree. You would be given the root node, and the structure of the node will be containing the variables, data, and pointers left and right, pointing to the subtree of a null. Okay. Input format is the root of binary search tree and the value of k. And output is the kth largest element in the BST. Okay. So kth largest element has been taken as an output. What we have to do here is you would be given the root node, and the structure of a node will be containing the variables, data, and the pointers to the left and right subtree. Means there will be a structure with the data variable and 2 pointers to the left and to the right node. So here what we have is tree node is there of a type stack. The class stack will be there from which we have taken the variable. And now what we have to check here is we have to find the kth largest element in the BST, means the largest element that is present in the BST. So what we have to do is index is also given. We have to traverse the tree till you will find the kth node. That is what this problem is saying, that you have to traverse the tree to find the element which is present at the kth node. Okay. So how you're going to traverse that? You have to start to traverse the tree from root till you will get the kth node. Okay. So some value is also present with this k. Now what we are going to do is first we start with the while loop. Root is not equal to null and is empty condition will be there. What is the meaning of this is there will be, if root is not null means there should be some tree nodes are present. If root is null, it means that there is a no tree present. And is empty, st dot is empty is nothing but there is a no node left after the traversing entire tree. So this is also end condition. This one is also end condition. Okay. If one of them is true, then you are going to traverse the tree. Okay. After this, what we have written, root is not null. Means what? There are nodes in the tree. We are going to perform push operation. So you will have the value of the root in the stack. Okay, this stack st, and root we are going to take it from the user, right? So you will have the tree, you will get the tree to this particular function, and from that you will have the node values. So first node, it is not null, so we are going to push it on the stack, first node. Okay, then root equal to root left. Why we are going to the left? Because first we'll traverse the left and then we'll go for the right side. Okay. So till root is not going to be null, it will traverse till root left, and it is going to push all the nodes on the left side inside the stack. Okay, this will finish. After this, it will come to the end. Root is equal to st pop. Pop means now we are going to remove the elements. Okay, if minus k is equal to 0, break. Why minus k here? Because k is the number where we have to find the node value. That greatest node value you have to find. So for that, we are going to pop each and every node value. We are going to check which is the greater one and that we are going to take, but that you will get from the right side. So you have to traverse the right node also, and you have to take the values from your right side. When you find that minus k is equal to 0, means there is a the kth location has reached, then you are going to return the value at that particular node. So this is how you will get the kth location value from your tree. Okay, this is the next example we have. Archana has been given an array of integers numbers. Okay, Archana has been given an array of integer numbers and an integer target, and has been given the task to return the indices of the two numbers such that they add up to the target. She may assume that each input would have exactly one solution. She must not use the same element twice. Means what we have to do is, here is the given integer of array numbers and one is given as a target, and we have to calculate, we have to return the two index from the array, where you will find the sum of that two numbers is equal to the target. Means whatever the target value is given from the input. So what we have to do here is, input format given here is, the first line is n, denoting the size of array. The second line contains the n space separated integers, means the array. First will give you the size of array. Second input is nothing but the array in which we are going to find the target sum. And the last line is the target sum. Okay, and what we have to return is the two index of the numbers where you will find the sum is equal to the target value. Fine. So here you can see the sample output input they have given. 4 is the value given as the first input. This is nothing but the number of elements in your array. After that, these are the 4 elements that have been entered in your array, and 9 is the target. What is the meaning of this? 9 is the target whose that value has to be matched with some of the two numbers that are present in the array. Now you can see 2 plus 7 is going to be 9. So the output should be the location of these two numbers. So 0 and 1 is the location of these two numbers. That should be written as the output. So this is what the sample output for this given input. So this is how the program has to be right. Here again, 3 elements given, 3, 2, and 4 they have given, and target sum is 6. Now here you will have target sum for 1 and 2, means 2 plus 4 they can do, and you will get the value of 6. So that's why the output is 1 and 2 for this. So this is what the problem. We'll go for the solution. Okay. Now what we have here is we have the one array with the integer number, one is the size and one is the target. Okay, again we are going to use the hash map uh, object in the Java, which is easy for us for finding the uh, finding the value or matching the values. Okay, so how we are going to do that? We need one array that will have two values that are nothing but the index of the numbers who will have the sum equal to the target. Then what? The for loop we are going to write, in which we'll start with the first, means we have to use the for loop for the num array in which the values have been given. Again, what we are going to do? We have to do the matching of the key. Contains key is the function that have been used for getting the target is matched with the num. If that matches, then we are going to add that particular ith location in the array, which is going to be the output of our program. See, and the next location is also going to be added from the map.get function. It will retrieve the location from your num array. And after this, it is going to be put on the map, hash map. Okay. When you complete the for loop, that array is going to be stored with the value where you find the sum, and that you are going to return with the as the output of your function. So this one is the simplest one, I think. Hash map mapping is done with the map hash map object, which is used in Java. So this is how the solution for the given problem will be there. Take a short 10 minutes break from here, and then we start with the next. So it is already 7:10. We'll meet at the 7:20. Okay, is it okay for you?
Yes, yes.
Okay.